And this alarmingly flimsy package is a MacBook Pro for which I paid $140, and I don't really know very much about it. So for just $140, I really don't know what I've bought. I was scrolling through eBay the other day when I came across a listing that looked interesting but was very sparse on the details. Let's go over that listing. As you can see, there's not a whole lot in it. These pictures are not very good. Not really that much going on here, but the couple of takeaways that I got from this is, first of all, the computer looks to be in acceptable condition. It doesn't really appear to have any major damage. And also it looks like a fairly straightforward folder icon MacBook Pro that this particular seller doesn't seem to know much about. If you go down to the description here, and they say 2010 down here. Now up here in the item specifics, you can see once again we have a first gen Core i7, but they say release year 2011. It's very unclear. I don't think this person knows what they have at all. However, there are a few things that caught my eye. The first one, take a look at the F4 key. You can see that that is the symbol for Launchpad, and that was only introduced in 2011. So only 2011 MacBook Pros and newer will have that Launchpad key. They do include a picture of the serial number, but I don't want to look that up because, I don't know, it feels like cheating. What's the fun in that? But you'll notice the serial number starts with C02. In my experience, more recent MacBooks, 15-inch MacBooks, tend to start with C02. 2010 stuff usually does not. My guess is that this is a 2011 MacBook Pro. So that's why I chose to purchase this particular listing. And without any further ado, let's hop into this thing to see what I bought. Okay, this is a really, really appalling packing job. I mean, not even a box. It's just... what? Okay. The first bag has been dealt with. This bag is a little cleaner, though. It has to be said. Oh my gosh, how many bags are there? Okay, bag number 2. On to bag number 3. Oh my gosh. Okay, pro tip. If you're selling a MacBook Pro, get a box. I think we're slowly getting to the caramel center of this giant abomination. Could this be it? The final bag? Nope. Oh no, this one's not a bag. This is just some foam and paper. Okay. Oh my gosh, I think they used an entire roll of packing tape for this. I can actually see a MacBook. It's real. Look, you can see, I think that's the, isn't that the beginning of the roll of tape? They literally used the entire roll on this. We finally made it. There it is. There's the MacBook Pro, and here's everything that secured it. This is like an entire landfill. I'm so sorry, planet Earth. Well, anyway, let's take a look at the MacBook Pro itself. First impressions, this thing is in really good condition. I mean, well, I'll get some more close-up shots of this to cut in here, but it's in good shape. Really good shape. Now, before we crack this thing open, I'm gonna just give this thing a quick cleanup. Okie dokie, so now the machine is nice and clean. You can see I got the sticker residue. There were a couple of marks along the lid. Everything came off pretty easily, and this thing is in really, really, really good condition, considering this was $140. Even if this thing turns out to be just an early 2011 base model, which I suspect it is, that's still really good, and the fact that the enclosure is in such nice shape means that I could probably swap a 2012 logic board into this thing, and that would be really, really nice. Now, let's go ahead and open this thing up and examine what exactly we have on the inside. Now, once again, I'm not going to look up the serial number because that kind of takes all the fun out of it. So we're going to try and do some detective work on the inside. Alrighty, so, flashing folder. Now we know why. So the more curious thing on this interior, and I'll use my little brush here, is these two pads. Okay, so these up here, these are VRAM chips. This is the underside of the GPU. The CPU is over here. Right, so these are empty VRAM pads, which means that this is probably the base model from 2011, because if it were the upgraded one from either early or late 2011, these pads would be populated. But seeing as these are empty, this is most likely, these are the only VRAM chips, so this is going to be the base model AMD graphics with 256 megabytes of VRAM. Not great, but at the very least, I think we have our answer. Now let me check the RAM in this guy, because I want to see what we're working with. Okay, so these are both 2 gigabyte Samsung chips. Most likely 1333. Although these don't look like the original chips that would have come in these things. Those were normally sort of a dark blue. And they were also Hynix, I believe, in these early and late 2011s. These are Samsung chips. So I think that these have been replaced. But it's still just 4 gigabytes of RAM. So we're going to go ahead and upgrade that to 8. Now, one of the other things I'd like to do is check the serial number on the board. See if it matches the serial number on the case. And it does. Okay, so this is the original bottom case. I don't usually trust when I see on eBay the bottom case pictures. I don't trust those serial numbers because these things are really easy to replace, and sometimes, you know, if you dent this thing up, sometimes you'll just replace the bottom case, and then all of a sudden your serial number doesn't match your actual computer. These two match, so this is original. Now, I do want to clean this up a little bit. As you can probably see, we've got a fair amount of dust. So I'm just going to take a minute and clean up this board, and I'll zoom in so you guys can see that. Okay, so that's a good initial step, but one of the things that I like to do, especially on these unibodies, because it's really easy, is just pull out these fans, and then you can really clean the heat sinks and the fan blades. So as you can see now, underneath these fan blades, it definitely looks a little bit worse. So I'm just gonna go ahead and clean all of that out. You can see the poofs of dust coming up. It's gonna improve the cooling pretty significantly. I'm not gonna replace the thermal paste right now because I'd rather just turn the machine on and see how it works before we start doing stuff like that. Forgot to unplug the battery while I was doing this. I'm pretty sure it's flat anyway, so it doesn't really matter. By the way, one other thing. See this style of battery connector here? This is also new for 2011. The 2010s had a metal socket that you would insert the plug into, so this is definitely a 2011. Well, it's been a couple days, as you can tell from my haircut, so I'd like to give some background. In the past clip, I know a lot of you have probably gotten mad at me when you noticed that I didn't unplug the battery, but the reason that I didn't think to do that is before I went to take the computer apart, I plugged it in to see if there was any juice in the battery, and the battery indicator flashed 5 times, which means the battery is dead. So, and sure enough, the battery does not hold a charge. That thing was gone. So there was no worry about electrocution, which is why I forgot to unplug it. So, that's also why it took me a couple days, because I went online and I ordered another battery. So after 25 bucks worth of battery, here we are. A fully working MacBook Pro. So total all in on this machine was $140, including shipping for the machine itself, 25 bucks for a battery, 20 bucks for an SSD, and like 30 bucks worth of RAM. I didn't buy the RAM, I already had it, but that's about what it's worth. So for just over 200 bucks, we have a fully functional MacBook Pro, and a pretty darn good one, because we've got an original Apple battery with very low cycles, a 240 gigabyte solid state drive, and 8 gigabytes of RAM. And when you add to that this thing is in pretty much immaculate condition, for only 200 bucks, that's pretty great. Now, the only caveat with this machine is it's a 2011. And a lot of people would probably say, why would you even bother with a 2011? The graphics are just gonna fail. And to that I would say, who cares? If the graphics fail on this thing, chances are I'd still be able to get more than 140 bucks for this machine, even in that state. The battery, the storage, and the RAM are all still fine, so I would just pull those and use them in some other machine. And then I would sell this machine for probably closer to $200, and I'd probably still make money in the process. Because this thing was so cheap and is in such good condition, there are a ton of options for something like this. I could probably flip it as it is for $300 or $400. People will pay that sort of stuff even for machines like this. I could take it all apart. I could sell the board, the display, the top case, all of the parts individually. That would probably net me over $300. I could take the board out and put a 2012 logic board in here and have a really good condition 2012 MacBook Pro that would still probably make me money. When you're looking at something this cheap, it's hard to lose money, especially since I got lucky with it being in such good condition. So I'm really pleased with how this whole experiment has turned out. Now, for those of you watching this video and wondering how you can replicate this at home, I can't give you a step-by-step. Like, there's not like a seller that just sells good MacBook Pros for cheap that I could just point you to. But as a couple of pointers, you want to keep an eye on new listings before they get snatched up. You want to find stuff that looks fixable, so flashing folder stuff that's just missing hard drives and whatnot. Keep your eyes peeled for stuff like that, and also keep your eyes peeled for listings that don't look that detailed, where you can get information from the pictures, but the seller doesn't really know what they have. Those are usually a good find. So let me know down in the comments below what you think I should do with my extremely cheap, but also surprisingly good MacBook Pro. Do you think I should flip it? Should I take it apart? Should I upgrade it to a 2012? As I said, there are a ton of options for this, and I am open to suggestions. So let me know down below, and as usual, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter @LukeMiani, and please consider joining my subreddit. And with that, I'll see you guys in the next video.